This is the Vince Salerno Podcast, Episode 2. Hey guys, on today's episode, we're talking Star Trek in honor of the 50th anniversary and Star Trek Beyond with special guest Eric Jenkins. Also, Star Wars Celebration, Divergent moving to TV, and some great Comic-Con reveals. All this and more as the Vince Salerno Podcast starts right now. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of the Vince Salerno podcast on this July 22nd, 2016. As always, I'm your host, Vince Salerno. And before we get started, I just want to really quick, I want to thank you guys for all the comments and all the shares and stuff that you guys have given my podcast. A lot of great feedback from the first episode. I saw you guys were getting into the comments section on Twitter, debating things, agreeing and disagreeing with my comments on things like Ghostbusters. Once again, film is subjective, so if you don't agree with me, that's totally fine. All right, well, today is a very special episode. Not only is it the second episode, but we have a special guest on the second episode here to talk about Star Trek on its 50th anniversary and Star Trek Beyond, which comes out today. This guy is a very good friend of mine, one of the funniest and smartest people I know, and, you know, the reason why he's here is because he is a die-hard Star Trek fan. He is Eric Jenkins. Eric, thank you for being on the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here and talk about one of my favorite things.
Yeah, so let's talk a little about you first. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am a writer, actor, director. I'm a senior at JP Catholic Film School. I'm going to be graduating in September, and I'm just working on a feature right now and a podcast of my own.
Very cool. Hopefully we'll get to collaborate on said podcast.
Definitely, yeah.
All right, well, let's get into it. First topic. So, I'm going to start giving these things a name now. Like last week, I just said, the top 5 topics or whatever. So the top 5 is going to be called the top 5 of the week. So this week's top 5 of the week, starting with number 1, Star Wars Celebration. I told you guys that I was going to do a crap ton of coverage on Star Wars Celebration, giving you guys trailer reactions to the Rogue One trailer because we had pretty strong word that it was coming out. News on Rebels, news on reveals for Episode 8, reveals for Han Solo, because you know they were going to do something with Han Solo. And from what I've heard and what I've seen, a very disappointing celebration. They really kicked things off with a bang with the Rogue One panel, with the cast and crew discussing the film, and then also releasing that very cool behind-the-scenes featurette. Come Saturday, though, the only big reveal from that was Grand Admiral Thrawn finally being infused into the Star Wars canon in Star Wars Rebels Season 3, and also some great stuff from Season 3 of Rebels. It looks like it's going to be another great season for the series. I haven't seen all of it. Eric and I watched episodes back and forth with our good friend Justin Capabianco. But we haven't seen the series all the way through, so we don't really know what's going on. Kanan's blind. Ezra's cut his hair. He might be a Sith. We don't know what's happening. Darth Maul is in there. I don't know. And then Sunday, there was a future filmmakers panel featuring Rian Johnson, director of Episode 8. Also featured John Boyega coming out, along with Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill. And then we also had, I believe, Phil Lord and Chris Miller were there as well, who are the directors of the Han Solo movie. And I guess their big reveal was that they brought out Alden Ehrenreich and officially confirmed him as the new Han Solo. So I guess that was cool. So Eric, we had a conversation about this. I think this is, back in 2015, they really set a standard for what you should expect from Star Wars Celebration, especially with giving everything we got for Episode 7 alone. We got a trailer, we got all these cool images, all these big reveals, and then we got the teaser for Rogue One, basically the confirmation that it was happening, and this year, very mum on big reveals. You would think that they would really try and go all out with this. Especially, I think that was a cheap out to say that Han Solo, Alden Ehrenreich, is your biggest reveal of the week. It's like, we knew that. That was basically confirmed on the internet. Everybody knew. Bringing him out and saying, and now confirmed for the first time ever, it's like, no, we knew that. What do you think about that?
Well, with Han Solo, I see what you're saying, where most of us already basically knew that, but it still hadn't been confirmed, you know. But then another thing is that with the last Star Wars celebration, Star Wars was making the big comeback. I can see how this one will be smaller because we've already gotten The Force Awakens. But when The Force Awakens came out, we hadn't seen a Star Wars movie in 10 years. And so it had to be a big comeback. They had to come back with a smash. And so this year, I'm not really surprised that they, that it wasn't as big, simply for that reason. I'm kind of surprised that they wouldn't make as much of an effort to meet the standard that they set. But another question you have to kind of ask is it fair to assume that that will always be the standard? I mean, I think it's human nature to kind of expect that. But that's not necessarily how how Disney is operating in their minds.
Right.
So, there's some thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's some good points. I never really. I guess they did. It was never officially confirmed, the Han Solo thing, but I guess the fact that we already knew and they used that as the big reveal was like, but we already knew. Like, I think, I don't know. It just felt like a cop out to me. And then I believe they said, we'll see you guys next year at Star Wars Celebration Orlando. We'll have other things, and it's like, come on, that's killing the hype and the purpose of Star Wars Celebration London. I'm sure people who went had a great time, but for those of us over here, we're like, you do have a good point that they were really trying to sell the fact that Star Wars is back.
Yeah.
And they were doing as much as possible. Now that it's back, they don't feel the need to do that anymore. But I believe you set a standard with that first celebration. And
whether they intend to or not.
Whether they intended to or not, exactly. And you have to deliver, or at least let the fans know that you're not going to get the same amount of content. I mean, there was a big report coming out that there was going to be a 3-minute trailer for Star Wars for Rogue One, and it was going to be at Celebration. They were going to show it on ABC. It was going to go online after that, and then nothing. So, I mean, they should have had somebody get out there and debunk that rumor, or whoever decided to leak that information or get that rumor out there should be if he was from Disney, should be fired. I mean,
well, what was the source of that rumor? Was it from Disney, or was it?
I don't believe it was from Disney, but I mean, it was from a reliable source, is what I'm hearing. Anyways,
but we did get the 3-minute featurette.
We did get the 3-minute featurette, which was really cool.
Which
we got the
didn't it have some new footage?
It had a bit of new footage. It had Jyn Erso's character saying, "May the Force be with us," and that was pretty cool. I don't mean to undermine that. There was a great substitute for what could have been a trailer, but I think a lot of us were expecting a trailer, so that's kind of where the disappointment comes in. Yeah.
Another thing is that in order to kind of meet the hype, they would almost need to be bigger each year. You know what I mean? Because if they let's say that we could somehow quantify the amount of surprises and whatever that comes out each year. It could very well be that this year's matched last year's, but just because we were expecting a little bit more, it's almost like a drug user and alcoholic. They need more to feel that, to get that same high than they did the first time.
Right. I get what you're saying. So maybe they'll come back next year with an even bigger show. I guess we'll wait and see. But
Yeah.
it's not a big deal at the end of the day. We got some great reveals, and we should be thankful that we got at least something.
Yeah.
I mean, the Grand Admiral Thrawn thing is just that's cool in itself, you know?
Yeah.
Because people have been wanting to see I've been wanting to see Grand Admiral Thrawn. I haven't even finished Heir to the Empire, and I already think he's a great character. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they treat him and how he's infused into future Star Wars films and TV shows. Okay, moving on to the next topic. So the Divergent series was kind of in a rut after the most recent film. I don't even remember what it's called. Allegiant, Ascendant, Descent. I don't remember. I don't care. But apparently the last film scored a little under $180 million worldwide, and that is seen as a failure.
How much did it cost to make?
I do not have that information in front of me, but I'm sure it cost a lot, just considering this was trying to be a franchise that would take the place of the Hunger Games and, you know, be the new young adult series of the next couple of years. But it seems to it has seemed to sizzle and burn, crash and burn, if you will. And now they're taking a not so great approach to concluding this series. So the next film, Ascendant, I don't care. Divergent 4 is going to conclude as a TV movie that may not feature the original cast of the previous Divergent films. This fourth film...
Do they want to recast? Same characters?
They don't want to recast, but they may have to just because it's cheaper to recast. But also, they want to create new characters to put into this fourth final film, which would lead into a TV spin-off and continue the franchise from there. I think this is a pretty stupid idea. I mean, no offense to the studio or anybody involved. I'm sure they're trying to figure the best way to win their money back while not wasting too much money. But this is just a ridiculous cheap out for the fans of the Divergent series. I'm not one of them. For everybody who's, put in the effort with this series, it's like, okay, even though the last film flopped, yes, but your big escape, your conclusion is going to be on TV, where the quality will most likely suffer, and then you're going to spin it off with a new... It's not even going to feature the same cast, maybe? It's like... It just seems like a cheap way to go out, and it seems like a bad way to go out. Like, how... I mean, this looks like a franchise killer to me. I don't like it, and I hope that maybe they'll get something out of it that will... keep the studio going, or not that the studio's suffering, but, I hope they'll get some achievement out of this.
Yeah.
But I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I agree. I think probably their biggest problem is pulling a Harry Potter Deathly Hallows and splitting the third book into two movies.
Right. That seems to be a common trope with these young adult films, and it's not necessary. Like, yeah. I haven't seen Hunger Games Part 2 yet, but I find it to be completely unnecessary to do this. The reason why it worked for Harry Potter is because Harry Potter was a brick. Like, the book was literally the width of a brick.
Yeah.
So you have to somehow find a way to cut that in half and do it into two movies. It's just, it had to be done. With Divergent, with the Hunger Games, with whatever other young adult films that have come out or are coming out, it's like, you don't need to do this. Your books aren't the width of a brick,
Right.
And the thing that I find so attractive about young adult series like The Maze Runner, I mean, granted, The Maze Runner 2 wasn't all that great, but I really loved The Maze Runner 1, and The Maze Runner 3 has, despite its current production halt, they're going to do one movie and conclude the franchise. And I think that's a great thing to do, because we don't have a lot of great, trilogies. It's always part 1, part 2. It's like, oh, so it's a trilogy, and then there's the other half of the trilogy.
Right.
And it's like, the last great trilogy we had was the Dark Knight trilogy. Despite what you think about The Dark Knight Rises, I personally love it. That was probably the last good trilogy to come out in the last couple of years. Anyways,
But to their credit, though, at least they're trying to find ways to turn this crisis into an opportunity. You know, I've told you, I say this all the time, is
right.
that the Chinese written word for crisis combines the Chinese characters for danger, but then also opportunity. And so, I mean, kudos for them for even coming up with this plan to try to recoup some of their losses, which have got to be enormous.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you prove a good point there. So yeah, like I said, I hope they gain something out of this. I hope, yeah, they recoup their losses. They don't lose a lot of money making another big budget feature that will probably bankrupt the studio. But I hope that this TV thing works out, and I hope it doesn't. It's not a cheap way out of the franchise. All right, topic number 3. Sort of fitting into our themed episode. J.J. Abrams has seemingly confirmed Star Trek IV to be in development, with an interesting storyline. Apparently, this film will see Chris Pine's Captain Kirk reuniting with his father, who was played by the one and only Chris Hemsworth in the original Star Trek film. I don't remember the name of his dad right now. Do you know it? Is it like George?
Yeah, it is George Kirk.
Yeah, George Kirk. So George Kirk and James Kirk will be reunited on screen. It's probably I don't know. When I heard this, I thought instantly they're going to do time travel, which is cool because like that is something that you can use in Star Trek and has been used multiple times, and it works. It works really well in the universe.
It's part of the mythos of Star Trek.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So having seen the original Star Trek film, or the new rebooted Star Trek film, and you really liked it, right?
The first one that came out in 2009, I did not like.
But, I'm sorry, that's right. You said that you liked Into Darkness.
Yeah, I'm one of those that really liked Into Darkness.
Okay. I'm with you there. But knowing that, just remembering Chris Hemsworth, not even knowing who he was at the time, and then realizing he's a big star now, and capitalizing on that by putting him in Star Trek 4, what do you make of that? Well,
Chris Hemsworth was really good in the first Star Trek. His parts were great. So this is really interesting because all throughout the original series, and even in the original series of Star Trek movies in the 80s, Kirk's dad is never mentioned. And I've always wondered if on the final frontier, when Spock's half-brother, Sybok, is showing all of the characters their deep wounds from their past, we get to see Spock and Bones' wound, and both has to do with their relationship with their father.
With their fathers, yeah.
Spock's wound is that he perceives his father, Sarek, as alienating him because he's half human and not fully Vulcan, which explains why Spock chooses to embrace his Vulcan side more than his human side. And then Bones ends up having to pull the plug on his dad, and his dad dies, and then immediately after a cure is found to the disease his dad had, and so it explains why he's so salty and cranky, but then also, tries his hardest to be such a proficient doctor and man of medicine. But then, right there, as they're about to get to Kirk's wound, Kirk doesn't want his wound to be exposed. He says, "No, I need my pain." But I've always wondered if it has something to do with his dad, and so maybe we'll kind of get a glimpse of that.
Right. Yeah.
With this new one,
maybe they'll even try and recreate those emotions or those scenes with Spock and Bones in Star Trek 4. Maybe the whole thing is about dads and like a father-son relationship.
It's interesting because usually those themes are dominated more by Star Wars.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see
familial
Star
bonds.
Trek's take on it, because Star Wars, I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
It's more of a mythological approach. It's more about answers, which is perfectly fine and legitimate, and that's what it is. And
totally,
it's cool.
totally.
But then there's Star Trek, which is a more philosophical approach, which deals more with the questions. And so it'll be interesting to see how they deal with the whole idea of fathers and sons, which we all
go
have that,
through it. We
you
all
know?
have that. Yeah, no, it's a good point.
And we all have questions about our relationship,
life, relationships,
with the father,
everything. Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So continuing on to that, in addition to confirming Star Trek 4, J.J. Abrams commented on whether or not they would recast the character of Chekov in Star Trek 4. As most of you may know, the actor who played Chekov in the rebooted films, Anton Yelchin, unfortunately passed away last month due to a freak car accident. Well, not even a freak car accident. It was just a freak accident. His car just was on a hill and just smashed into him while he was taking his mail. Really tragic. I remember the day that I heard this. It was Father's Day, and my sister Rachel, she's a huge fan of this actor, and she loves his "Weeter" line from the rebooted film. My sisters just love him, and when they told me he died, we were in a public water park, and I just screamed, "What?" And I don't, that the entire park didn't shut down and what did he say? But it was I was just shocked. It's of all the people who could just, and when I found out how he died, it was it was a freak accident. How does this just happen? It's just
thing.
Super tragic and really unfortunate. He was a really great actor outside of Star Trek as well. So yeah, he'll be missed. But he said he doesn't want to recast Chekov, and he feels it would be almost disrespectful to Anton Yelchin to recast Chekov. Now I have conflicting thoughts on this. I do not think it's disrespectful to recast Chekov. I don't remember where I heard this, but someone compared it to almost like Fast and Furious when Paul Walker died. Paul Walker put endless amounts of his life into the Fast and Furious franchise. And when he died, it was do we continue? It's do we kill the franchise? It's look, he put a lot of effort into that franchise, and you're going to honor him by ending what he put so much effort. I mean, that's like saying Disney dies and let's shut down Disney Animation Studios, let's shut down Walt Disney Pictures, let's shut down Disney World. It's you can't. I don't think that's. Yes, I mean it's tragic. It's unfortunate, but we move on. And Chekov is a character who has been recasted before. I mean, he was I'm sorry. Who's the actor's name? Who originally played Chekov?
Walter Koenig.
Walter Koenig, and now we have Anton Yelchin. I think the best way to honor Chekov and not honor Chekov, honor Anton Yelchin is to recast the role. I mean, keep this character going and pay your respects to Anton in this way by keeping the role that he originated in the rebooted universe, keep it going and let someone else take on the mantle. Personally, that's just me. Eric, I want to get your thoughts. We talked about how this may not. I mean, of course, it's too soon to really have the discussion, but tell me what you think.
Well, I personally don't think they should try to recast. Chekov is not. In the original series, he wasn't ever that major of a player or a character. You know, he's more of a minor character. He's still part of the main group. You know, he's not just a red shirt or whatever. But
he was.
Was he? He might have had a red shirt.
He was a red shirt. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You're my new engineer. Go put on a red shirt. I don't know. I think probably the best thing to do is to just say that he got transferred to another ship or something, and he's doing something else, which is conceivable because on the Wrath of Khan, he's not on the Enterprise, he's on the Reliant. So
right, but the difference is he's in the movie.
Right.
So I mean, no, that's a good point. Maybe
they could
just
refer to him or something. You know, they could say something like, "Oh, we have this problem. Hey, let's
call Chekov."
Yeah, let's pull up Chekov on the Subspace channel and see if he would have any insights on this.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. Well, I'm sure they will figure out some way to do it, but I personally think they should recast the role and keep it alive. Okay, so we're gonna breeze through the next two top 5 of the week. So this is going to pertain more to Comic-Con. So yesterday, Netflix and the Marvel Netflix panel dropped a bunch of cool trailers. We got our first full trailer for Luke Cage. We got our first teaser trailer for the Iron Fist TV series, Netflix series. We got a confirmation that Daredevil season 3 is going to happen, definitely going to happen. And then we also got a awesome teaser, a promo teaser for The Defenders. And I'm just going to break down these. Have you seen these trailers, Eric?
I've not.
Okay, you can give your thoughts, and I'll just run through them real quick. So the Luke Cage one was pretty awesome. It was very brief. It features Mike Coulter as Luke Cage, and he's busting through a building. He's using this car door as a shield to bust through the building. He like collapses it on a dude, and he's like stuck there like trying to wiggle out of the door, but he can't. He's busting down cage doors. He's punching in walls. He's beating guys up. Guys are trying to beat him with sticks and bats and fists and stuff, and he just because I don't know if you know, Luke Cage, he has like indestructible skin, so like he can't be harmed by bullets or anything like that. So guys are shooting at him, and they're just tearing through his clothes and stuff. And there was one I don't remember if this was in the Marvel Netflix sizzle reel or if this was in the Luke Cage trailer, but there was a great shot where somebody comes up to Luke Cage and he's gonna punch him in the face. And then in slow motion, you see Luke Cage's stoic face, and this hand just comes in slow motion, and you see it just breaking, like the wrist cracks and the hand. It's a little grotesque, but it's like, yeah, that's Luke Cage. So that got me really excited. Also, the cast behind it, really cool cast members that are going to be behind this series. None that I can name off the top of my head.
Nicolas Cage.
I wish. Iron Fist teaser was very brief. Did not show anything really superhero-y. We got some shots of a young Danny Rand, I believe his name is. Danny Rand in the snow, being picked up by some Asian monks or whatever, some ninjas. You see him walking down the street. You see like he's got like this poofy hair and a beard, and it looks like he's been away from home for a long time. He's finally coming back to do something. Kind of reminds me of Green Arrow, but obviously they're two different characters. So, not a lot to make out for this Iron Fist series, but I've looked into the lore and the concept of Iron Fist as a comic book character, and I'm very interested in that. Okay, so Daredevil season 3, obviously no surprise there. Of course, Daredevil is like one of my favorite shows now, not just because it's a superhero Marvel series, but it's so good, and it pays tribute to the comic and to the characters. It's just very well done, and of course, I knew season 3 was going to happen, but it was only a matter of like when will they confirm it.
Sure.
And they didn't give us a release date, but all they said was that it's going to happen. So probably sooner rather than later, we're going to get Daredevil season 3. And then the Defenders promo teaser was just sort of this like a mural of like a collage of paper, multiple letters from like Luke Cage's logo, Iron Fist logo, Jessica Jones logo, Daredevil logo, and it's like this hand made out of like this paper collage, and it says defend. The letters spelled defend, and then in the background you have the New York Hell's Kitchen backdrop, and you hear Stick from the show. He's in all 2 seasons. You hear him say, "You think you guys can save New York? You can't even save yourselves." And then the Defenders logo pops up, and that's it. So all we know is that it's coming in 2017, and it's going to be awesome.
Now, is the Netflix Marvel series, are they connected to the MCU at all?
They are, but they try to avoid direct connections because they're just so dark.
Okay.
I think eventually you're going to see a crossover. Hopefully in Infinity War we'll get some of those characters to cross over. I think it's doable. It's just a matter of when. Okay, so the last top 5 just came up this morning. I decided to add it to the top 5. We have this awesome Wonder Woman poster that came out today from Comic-Con, and I'm looking at it right now, and it's stunning. Not just because Gal Gadot, who's a beautiful actress, is Wonder Woman is in the poster, but it's just the design of it is so just dreamlike in a weird way. Like, you got the blue sky in the background, but you have this like orangish red smoke or some explosion. It looks like mustard gas or something.
That's what I was gonna say.
I don't know what it is, but it almost looks as if this is going to be like a Wonder Woman meets Star Trek type adventure. I mean, that's what the background at least looks like, and then at the bottom
Chris Pine's going to be in it.
Or Chris Pine's going to be in it, so yeah. So then at the bottom it says power, grace, wisdom, wonder. And then it says summer 2017, and then the Wonder Woman logo. A great poster, really caught my eye, and a great teaser poster. I mean, you don't get a lot of really cool teaser posters like this anymore. I mean, they're always just like one of like a face or something, or like the Jason Bourne poster is kind of dumb. It's just his face and it says, "You know his name." It's like, come on, you can do better than that.
That's like the Martian poster. It was just his face.
Yeah, and that's understandable because it's about him and he is the Martian. Okay, so to run through the top 5 of the week, we had Star Wars Celebration disappointments, Divergent goes to TV, Star Trek 4 confirmed with Kirk's dad, and Chekov may or may not be in it. The Netflix Marvel panel at Comic-Con, and the Wonder Woman poster. That was our top 5. So now we're going to get into our topic of the week, which is Star Trek.
All right.
So we're not just doing this because of Star Trek Beyond. We are doing this also because it's the 50th anniversary. I don't believe this today is the 50th anniversary, but I believe it's still to come.
Year.
Yeah, it's the anniversary year. Mm-hmm. And just looking back, I really haven't really embraced Star Trek until I met Eric. You've really helped me like get into it and embrace it, and eventually like really like it. Like
Good.
I've actually I binged through all 6 original Star Trek films and enjoyed, I mean, I want to say most of them. Mm-hmm. And I mean, some of them have their minor flaws, which we'll get into, but and I've been watching the original series on Netflix, and I've been a big fan of the new films, the Star Trek 2009 and Into Darkness. Into Darkness is actually one of my favorite films of all time. So let's get into the original series. Eric, you're the bigger fan, obviously. You are to Star Trek as I am to Star Wars.
Yeah.
So what is it about Star Trek? Why do you like it, and then why do you think other people also like it?
Well, as I said before, Star Trek is a more philosophical approach to life, and it asks questions about life that I have been asking ever since I was a kid. You know, who am I? Why am I here? What is the human race all about? What's the destiny of the human race? What's my place in that human race? What's our place in the universe? How do we fit in? You know, what's it all about? And so Star Trek is a great vehicle for asking those questions. And then even it's always also been a great vehicle for talking about contemporary issues without really talking about them. You know, because in the 60s and 70s, obviously there was all kind of controversial things going on. We had Vietnam
exactly.
War. We had, the Civil Rights Movement. We had the oil Emirates crisis, all kinds of things like that. And a lot of these sensitive issues, people didn't really feel comfortable talking about them outright. Mm-hmm. But Star Trek was able to do it by setting episodes out on some other planet where suddenly we feel safe because it's on this other planet, and it's this nice, safe arena to explore these issues. And a lot of the episodes, some of them relied on analogy a lot, you know. But then also there are a lot of episodes that it wasn't just analogy, but it was also applicability, you know. And Tolkien uses the same thing where the ring, it's not an analogy for any one particular thing, but it's applicable to a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of how some of the episodes are as well.
Do you think that Star Trek's a little, do you think that Star Trek is a risky show in the sense that they chose to go after those, at the time, controversial topics? Like, for example, a lot of people mention the interracial kiss between Uhura and Kirk, things like that. Like other, like, you know, like you said, they addressed issues of the time. Do you think maybe people liked that show and tuned in because it was a gutsy show and it took those risks?
Definitely. Yeah, the interracial kiss you just talked about was probably the biggest example, especially back then in the wake of the civil rights movement and things like that. But they were cutting edge in a lot of ways. Gene Roddenberry did not want to see anyone smoking on the show.
Really?
Yeah, which was kind of a problem because some of their sponsors were tobacco companies.
Oh,
so there was going to be no product placement like that. What's some other examples of... I can't think of any off the top of my head, but yeah, there are a lot of different things like that. I think one of the big successes of it, though, was just that it has a positive view of the future, you know?
Definitely. Every episode seemed to end on a positive note.
Yeah.
At least most of them. I haven't seen the entire series, so...
Most of them, yeah. It's a hopeful show.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let me think of some other...
Actually, if you don't mind, we're gonna move on to another part of Star Trek. So the series was canceled, and then there was the short-lived animated series, lasted for, I believe, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, not even that.
Maybe, I think it was just 1.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, short-lived, trying to revive the series. Noble. It had the original cast. But then we get to the movies, which I found to be very intriguing, that they were able to make Star Trek movies on this grand scale. I just thought, I remember seeing the teaser for the motion picture and just thought, that looks cool.
Yeah.
And then...
This, then, is the epic return. That one? Was it that trailer?
Yeah. And you see all, like, the shock waves and the special effects and stuff. It's like, wow, this looks like something else, man. So I got excited, and I saw the film. We've talked about this before. I like the film in the sense that it is a cool Star Trek episode, but that's all it really is an extended episode put in movie form. But the great thing about it, that I think the great thing about it is that it is a return. It's been what, maybe like 10 years since the show, and
yeah, it was, because it was canceled in
68.
It might have been 70 by the time it was canceled.
Oh, I see.
But
it went on for 3 seasons, right?
Yeah, so season 1's billed from 66 to 67.
Oh, I see.
Because it went over.
Right. Okay. So about 10 years after it started, and you see that, like, these characters, they're older, and that's kind of exciting. I mean, it's sort of like how I see Han Solo being old in The Force Awakens. Like, that's exciting to see them being that age and, like, how they deal with that. And the one thing I noticed also was, like, it's sort of a get the gang back together. Like, you know, Spock is comes into play for his own terms. Bones comes in against his will.
A bearded hippie. And none of these characters really, like, they don't have that chemistry that they had in the original show. Yeah,
and it's like
it's really unfortunate. I think a lot of it had to do with Robert Wise's directing style.
Right. I mean, I guess I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's kind of cool. It's like they have to, as characters, it's about them getting back to where they were, and it's about them. You know, you don't have the chemistry that the original series had, and it's about them learning to like each other, I guess, in a way. And that element I found to be exciting.
I never thought of it like that before.
Yeah, and then you know, of course, there are some Hannibal elements, like the what I like to call the pornography shot of the Enterprise. the like 5-minute, 10-minute, however long it is, sequence of just the Enterprise, low angle of the Enterprise, top angle of the Enterprise, and goes on for like 10 minutes. It's like, this is cool. Like, I like, this kind of has like a 2001 vibe to it, but it's like,
oh, absolutely.
The entire
movie is very 2001.
But it's not 2001. I think that's where the film suffers. It tries to be something else, and it doesn't try to doesn't embrace the Star Trek
Yeah,
name.
you're right.
So yeah, I guess for time's sake, let's just go through our top 3 favorite Star Trek films.
Okay, so my top 3 is going to be, first of all, Wrath of Khan, and then its foil movie, Into Darkness, and then First Contact is my third favorite.
Okay, why are those? Really quick, why are those 3 your favorites?
Well, Wrath of Khan was really the first Star Trek movie. You know, motion picture technically was a Star Trek movie, but it was just like you said, it didn't feel like it. The character dynamics weren't there. Everyone, Kirk especially, has this massive stick up his butt the whole time, and it's not William Shatner's fault. I don't think it was just the weird directing style.
Right.
They're trying too hard not to be Star Wars, while at the same time trying to capitalize on Star Wars' success.
Exactly.
So,
did that film come out before Star Trek or Star Wars?
Motion picture?
Yeah, because Star Wars came out in 77.
Yeah, and then motion picture came out in 79.
That's right.
Same year as Alien.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So Wrath of Khan and then Into Darkness?
So Wrath of Khan, the characters are themselves again, you know, and we see them at their best. And it's got a great story. The story is beautifully simple. The A story is, at least. But then the B story, the emotional arc, is richly complex. And it doesn't overdo any of the special effects or anything. There's just the right amount of stuff blown up and space adventure and pew pew pew. But then it also has the cool ideas like the Genesis device and terraforming that make Star Trek scientifically appealing.
Right.
But then it also has these philosophical ideas of life and death and rebirth and things like that.
And then your second one you said was Into Darkness?
Yeah, so I love Into Darkness because one of the things it does really well is it's able to balance all of the characters magnificently. It's able to juggle all of them.
They get their own screen time.
Yeah, each character is there for a reason, you know. Like we were saying last night, like even Chekov, you know, if he wasn't there to grab them
when they fell and the ship's tipping and
and then also it's a cool foil for Wrath of Khan. Some people don't like it because it inverts.
Because it's a remake of Wrath of Khan and it reverts a lot of things, yeah.
But I don't know, it took it in a new direction and it was more true because Kirk wasn't such a butthead as he was in the 2009 film.
He learns.
There's actually some growth.
He matures.
Yeah.
Okay, and your number 3?
My number 3 is First Contact, which features the Next Generation cast.
Now that's the one where they go back in time.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
I've seen. It's been a long time since I've seen that one. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Why is that your third favorite?
Oh man, that one has so many intense moments. Throughout Next Generation, we never see, or at least very rarely, do we ever see Picard lose his temper or get angry. But in First Contact, the stakes for him are so personal and so intense because he's trying to save humanity from being assimilated by the Borg, which he had been before, and that's...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Picard was assimilated by the Borg, and so he had all these cybernetic implants throughout his body, and he loses his individuality and his free will. But then... So that was before. So now he's trying to save... He's been rescued, he's himself again, he's trying to save the rest of humanity from that terrible fate. And it addresses the question, is he really doing this because he wants to save humanity or out of revenge, which is a fascinating idea because throughout Next Generation, Roddenberry pushed that by that time in history, humanity will have reached a kind of maturity where we're no longer selfish. We don't take revenge. And Picard thinks that of himself, but that's a question that he's forced to ask is, am I doing this?
Right.
You know, am I becoming evil by trying to destroy this evil?
Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's a great list. Like I said, I haven't seen First Contact in a long time, so looking forward to rewatching it, though. I believe it's on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
So my top 3 Star Trek films are... I really, really struggled with this. Top 3 are Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, and Star Trek Into Darkness. Leading up to this podcast, I flipped between Voyage Home and Wrath of Khan being my number 1. Mainly because I just find myself, I'm at least at this point in my life, I am not very like. Star Trek 2 is a very philosophical film in a way, you know, and I guess I'm still getting into that kind of stuff, you know. And Star Trek 4 was sort of my kind of film. It was fun. It still had a lot of great stakes, a lot of great action. Still some philosophical stuff fused in there. Not that I'm totally devoid of that in my life, but I found it to be very enjoyable. And you know, I've even said this before with you. Like the theme song is so great. That da 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 da. You know, it's just a wonderful little film, and especially how it like continues the storyline of Star Trek 3. Like I believe that 2, 3, and 4 are one trilogy in themselves.
They are.
And you know the other films obviously fit in there as well. But you know this it's one complete story that continues from almost exactly from where each one leaves off, which is you never see that anymore. And I just love the sort of comedic tone it has, but also still a dark tone and still a light tone. And there's humorous bits with them in present day, and there's trying to navigate. I just found that to be like, I'll give you $100.
Is that a lot?
Is that a lot?
Yeah.
I just found it to be very funny. So, I mean, that's my number 2. But number 1 is Wrath of Khan. I chose that because it is, I think it is, in a lot of ways, a more superior film. It saved the franchise because, really, the motion picture almost killed it.
And it was made for a quarter of the budget as motion picture.
And that's interesting in itself, considering how big it feels, how more complete it feels compared to motion picture. I like it because it's also darker. They escaped TV and were able to go very dark and explore some very interesting themes with Wrath of Khan. And the cool thing about it, while also kind of disappointing, is that Khan and Kirk and the Enterprise crew, besides Chekov, they never see each other.
Yeah.
They're always just speaking to each other. And I found it to be slightly disappointing. It's like, oh, wouldn't it be great to...
Kind of like right now.
Kind of like right now, yeah. Like, it would be so great... It would have been so great to have, like, one more fight between Khan and Kirk. Yeah, I thought that would have been great. Because I remember seeing the original episode with Khan and just... It's like, that was cool. I want to see that.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is what it is. And the movie's phenomenal. Just because it juggles all these different elements, like the Genesis Chamber, Spock being captain, Kirk dealing with his old age and his immortality, or not immortality, I guess. Well, in a way, that's
his mortality.
His mortality, and the fact that he sometimes feels immortal, but he's starting to realize that, oh, I'm getting old.
Yeah.
And there's the great line at the end where, you know, like, I feel young.
Yeah.
And of course, how can we dismiss this conversation without mentioning Spock's death?
Definitely.
Which is, I think, the biggest and almost one of the most heartbreaking moments in Star Trek lore. I mean, I got teary-eyed when I first watched it, but I didn't get the full effect just because I knew it was coming.
Right. Well,
and it's just because, you know, it's already out there. It's like, oh, yeah, everyone knows that Spock dies in Star Trek 2. It's like, I remember a friend told me that. I was like, I haven't seen Star Trek 2. It's like, oh, well, sorry. Yeah.
I've got a quick story about that. So the fans also knew when the movie was first coming out that Spock was going to die. And so Nick Meyer did this clever thing where, you remember in the beginning of the movie where there's the flight simulator sequence?
Yeah, at the very beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, there's the explosion on the bridge and Spock dies. And so...
Oh, he died.
So
that's
Meyer,
right.
the director, he did that. One of the reasons why he had that scene was because it was a good way of stating the theme, and it introduced this idea of no-win scenario, but also was to diffuse this expectation of Spock dying. So if you put that at the beginning of the movie, people are like, oh, okay, there it is, Spock died. And then they forget, because they think that it's already happened, and they just forget about it. And so then later in the movie, when he does die, it has
really
that full force.
Comes, yeah. So I wish I would have been able to experience it without knowing at all. I'm sure I would have teared up a little more. But yeah, it's such a great moment, and just Spock's sacrifice, and that's really the moment where you really see how far Spock and Kirk have come as friends.
Yeah.
And I just find their relationship in the Star Trek universe to be very, very touching and a very strong one. I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
Even in the new movies. And then my number 3, to touch on that briefly, is Into Darkness. I like it for all the reasons you like it, but I also like it because it capitalizes on the new reboot. I liked the new reboot. I remember seeing it with my brother and my aunt when it came out in 2008. I remember really liking it. But this one, I remember just being... for me, it was the rare occasion where the sequel was just a million times better than the original.
Oh, yeah.
It just excelled on every element. It was action-packed. It still had these philosophical moments of when Pike dies, and Kirk really feels like he's...
I took that
like
part.
Pike is basically his father in this series, and when he dies, it's like he's lost his father without really losing his real father. So I'm interested if that element will play into Star Trek Beyond, or not Beyond, Star Trek 4. But also just, people complain, oh, it's a remake of The Wrath of Khan, but I enjoy it. Yeah. I enjoy that it's a remake of The Wrath of Khan. I mean, yes, too. It's not even just a remake of The Wrath of Khan. It's a remake of the original episode with Khan in it.
It's remake, but it's not, because it's different.
It combines the lore of Khan and makes one big epic movie, and I loved it, and I love JJ's approach to the Star Trek franchise, because he didn't think he would ever make Star Wars.
Right.
So his approach, I believe, was, I'm going to make Star Trek as cool as I can possibly make it. If I was making a Star Wars movie in a Star Trek universe, this is what it would look like. And I think that's a great approach, because it really saved the franchise, because I believe it was in a rut at that time as well, before the reboot. Like, it needed to conform to...
There wasn't really anything. Yeah.
It needed to conform to modern standards, even though it's unfortunate that those philosophical films, like 2, 3, and 4 that we talked about, it's a shame that those aren't appreciated today. But I think it's important that the film, in order for it to survive, it needs to conform to new standards, which is big blockbuster action. And I'm hearing that Beyond takes elements of those previous films, and which leads into our closing the Star Trek discussion. Let's talk about... So we're going to go see Star Trek Beyond tonight. What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to the adventure and the mystery and figuring out just what's going on, how are we going to get out of this, and how are they going to get the Enterprise back, Because it looks like from the trailer,
we weren't happy about that.
Yeah, we were not, because in the new movies, like, the Enterprise always gets destroyed at the end.
Exactly. It's a consistent trope that I don't like.
Yeah.
Like, the Enterprise takes a beating. But
it should.
But yes, exactly.
Because otherwise it doesn't feel like the stakes are high.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be destroyed. Yeah, exactly. So that's what you're looking forward to then?
One of the things.
Yeah, cool. Initially I told you that, like, I was a little disappointed by what this film is offering, because it doesn't seem like it's going to be... I talked about how, like, the Doctor Who 50th anniversary was a story, a consistent story, but it was a celebration of Doctor Who at the same time. There were consistent little throwbacks to the original series, throwbacks to previous seasons, previous characters, old characters and new characters are coming in, and it felt like a celebration of the series. It felt like an event.
Yeah,
and
it did.
Beyond, when I saw the first teaser, it was like, this doesn't look like a celebration of Star Trek.
For Beyond?
Star Trek Beyond.
Yeah, I agree. You're right.
But I'm hearing now that the reviews are coming in that it, like I said, it has those philosophical elements that the original films had. So that gets me excited. It's like, I'm looking forward to seeing these elements infused back into Star Trek, and hopefully they're here to stay. And also, I mean, of course, make it a fun action film, of course, consistent with the other 3 films, or other 2 films. But also just, I want to see what these characters are doing next. I mean, it's a real shame that we only get these movies every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, it's been 3 years since Into Darkness, and it's like, it's a shame, because I really I want to see more of these films. Like, if they could crank them out as fast as they crank out Marvel films, like, that'd be awesome. But I mean, of course, if it affects...
It makes it more of an event when it comes out, though.
Exactly. And if it affects the quality, then no, take as much time. Take 6 years if you want making Star Trek 4. I'll be there because they've sold me with 1, they sold me with 2, and hearing the good things about 3, I have no doubt they're gonna sell me with this one, and I'm looking forward to 50 more years of Star Trek. And it's things like this where Star Trek is also not only just a commentary on life, but it's also something that can conform to life and, be part of the now, but, still not compromise the elements that make it Star Trek. And I think that's why it still has staying power. And, I commend everybody who's working on those films right now, because it's hard to get content out for a show that's 50 years old.
Yeah.
So I congratulate them. I hope this movie does well, and I hope that we get, years and years more of Star Trek lore and because it's a lot like Star Wars in the sense that this series can go on forever. They can keep spinning off shows, movies. They can keep making new characters. There's a new show coming out.
Big. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, we really can't talk about the new show because there's
nothing to talk
literally
about.
nothing to talk about, but only that it's going to be it's going to be big. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, we hope.
We hope. So, with that being said, we went a little over time, but happy 50th anniversary to Star Trek. We're looking forward to Star Trek Beyond. We will be recording our review later tonight. Eric, me, and our good friend JJ Schindler, who you've probably seen in a lot of my videos, we're going to be recording a review when we get back from the movie tonight. So that's our topic of the week, Star Trek's 50th. Okay, no Twitter questions for this week, but I want to touch on a couple of things from Comic-Con. Guys, if you don't know this about me, I love collecting action figures. I have, Eric knows, I have a sizable collection of movie figures. I mean, the comic characters are cool, but I don't like collecting comic characters. I like collecting movie characters, especially characters from my favorite movies. If you go on Instagram, you can see that I just purchased a Peter Venkman action figure, which I'm very happy about. At Comic-Con, they released some really cool things, which I'm really excited about. They released the first look at the Doctor Strange Marvel Legends 6-inch figures. I collect 6-inch figures, by the way, if you didn't know. Which look really cool. Doctor Strange looks really awesome. So be on the lookout for those, hopefully around the time of when the movie comes out, September, October, November. One thing, though, that I am really excited about, we've just gotten the first look, came out of nowhere, the first look at the Marvel Legends 6-inch Netflix Marvel series figures. Not all of them have been released. We only got not Daredevil. Daredevil's coming soon. We got Jessica Jones and the Punisher. And they both look great, but the Punisher is the one that I have my eye on. So if you're a fan of action figures and you like the Daredevil series and Punisher, be on the lookout for that. And he looks amazing. All right, guys. Well, obviously we went a little over time, but that's okay. But I want to thank you guys for joining us on this second episode of the Vince Salerno podcast. It's been a lot of fun. This has been a great one. I like having special guests. So, Eric, thank you so much for being a part of this podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, anytime you want to come back. And just where can the kids find you if they want to look you up?
Lurking in the shadows.
Lurking in the shadows. Okay. I guess you're not really popular on social media.
I'm really unpopular on social media.
That's okay. Let's get Eric to get a Twitter account so people can follow him. At least, see what you're up to. So if you want Eric to get a Twitter account,
I guess if you want to get a hold of me, just get a hold of me through Vinny's Twitter.
Yeah, and then I'll force Eric to get a Twitter eventually so people can contact him. Anyways, you guys can follow me on Twitter simply at TheBigView75, Instagram at TheBigView75_Vince, and all my other contact information for Facebook and YouTube will be in the description of this podcast. Next week, we're going to talk about everything that came out of Comic-Con, and more movie talk and stuff, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. God bless, and peace out.